In today's video, I'm going to show you how I approach a long exposure fine art black and white photograph. Now I've actually come to Lancaster to photograph, actually funny enough, it's an old bus station. So if you haven't seen my video which involves Preston bus station, I will put a link to that up here. So the first thing I was going to do is suss out my composition. I had a look online, I identified a couple of points where I'm going to photograph this building from. So I'm just now working out exactly where I want to set up my tripod. Let me turn the camera around and I'm going to show you what location I'm going to choose and why I've chosen it. So this is the building. It's quite a controversial building in Lancaster because many people just don't like the shape of it. Underneath is the old bus station built with lovely sandstone and had some nice sort of Gothic arches and things. And they've put this round sort of block of flats over the top of it. Now, as you saw as I walked up, it looks quite good head on. But I'd really like to include a little bit of the side of the building as well, because that's where the sun's hitting it. It'll give me some contrast between between light and shade, which will make the photo more interesting. Now you'll see over here there are some trees. So if I come too far around, they're going to block my view. Some cranes in the background, I'm not too worried about because they're pretty much featured against the sky. I've come up on a bit of a slope. You can see the road is down there. So I'm nice and high up and almost level with the building. So I think at this point here, I've got the composition I want. I've got a bit of the side, I've got some light and shade so I can emphasize the curves of the building. So I'm going to set up my camera now and get my shot. So I've got my camera set up in the position I want. One thing I'm going to do is take a standard exposure shot, just because there's quite a lot of traffic moving in the foreground. My plan is to do a 4 to 5 minute exposure, and I think most of that traffic won't show up in the final exposure. Just in case it does, if I have a short exposure shot as well, then I can use some of that to replace my foreground if I need to. So it's really just a backup plan. So now I've got that shot, then my next job is to work out what ND filter I want. So I know that my current exposure is a 60th. So I'm going to use a long exposure calculator. I'll put a link to the app that I use for that in the description, and work out exactly what filter to put on. So as you can see, I had a 60th f8, and when I calculated that, it gave me too short a shutter speed. So I'm now up to my aperture to f11. So that's taken the normal exposure back to a 30th, and you can see on my long exposure calculator that's 4 minutes 33 seconds. So that's about perfect. I usually set it a little bit longer, just because that's the kind of recommendation I've had from other photographers, to go maybe a little bit over, 20 or 30% over. So I'm going to set my bulb timer now to 280 seconds. I think that's near enough. Save that. And now I'm going to put my ND filters on and take the shot. I've got my camera all set up. I've got 13 stops of ND filter on, so a 10 stop and a 3 stop. I've got the light leakage holders on. The only other thing I should say is I manually focus my camera before putting on the filters, because it's really hard to do if you've got your filters on. It's almost impossible to see your screen or your viewfinder to make sure your shot's in focus, so do that first. Also got a circular polarizer on. That's just to take away some of the glare from the sun, but it just helps bring out some of the contrast in the photo as well. So I'm going to see how it comes out. So that's my shot taken. Now I can see it's looking very dark. I should have allowed for some longer exposure. I'm going to do a second shot and increase my time to 380 seconds and see how that comes out. Now I'm just going to move to another location. I'll show you where that is in a second. Just because I'm here, I might as well try a couple of angles and see which one is going to work best. That's around the other side. So we are going to be somewhere over here on the other side of the road, and I'll figure out exactly where I want to be when I get there. Now here are my two finished shots after editing, and I hope you agree with me that, you know, it was worth the effort. One thing I would have liked was perhaps a more interesting sky. There's no clouds about and no movement in the clouds to create some nice dispersion about it. an ideal world, I'd like a sky with sort of 40% clouds in it, and them to be moving a little bit during the 4 minutes of exposure. That would have added another dimension. But all in all, pretty pleased with it. So go out and have some fun and try long exposure photography. It's a great skill to learn. It allows you to create some very artistic shots. In the meantime, have some fun with your camera, try some long exposure photos, and I'll see you in the next video.